Okay, this is the lesson Subtract Linear Expressions. This lesson is found on page 403 of your book. This is example number 1. The essential question is, how can you use numbers and symbols to represent mathematical ideas? And that's what we've been doing with expressions, dealing with numbers and variables. In this case, we are subtracting two quantities. Okay, so we have 6x plus 3, the quantity, minus 2x plus 2. So these are grouped together. The part that we're going to focus on is the second part, minus 2x plus 2. That is the part that we are going to focus on. So there's a number of ways that we can do this. One way is you can think about it as adding the opposite. Another way is to distribute the negative, or we can call this like a -1. So what we're going to do is we're going to distribute this negative to everything that is in the quantity by multiplying. So it's a negative times a positive becomes a positive. So it's a negative becomes a negative. A negative times a positive also becomes a negative. Okay? And now we have these two terms. They were positive and now they're negative because of this negative sign. Then we have a 3, and then we have a 6x. Okay? Another way we can do this, so we can look at it, now we just go ahead and start looking at like terms. Here's a like term. Here's a like term. Like term, like term. Okay, we have 6x plus a -2x, which is going to give me 4x. So these two terms together are going to give me 4x. We have a 3, and we have a -2, which now is going to be 1. So when I'm said and done here, got everything taken care of, I changed the negative, distributed the negative, I'm going to end up with combining two terms that are like, two sets of terms, and I get 4x plus 1. Okay, let's look at another one. Same idea here. We're going to do this one a little bit different. We're going to think of this as adding the opposite. So we're going to take our negative, and then we have our quantity x minus 2. Well, if I add the opposite, I'm going to, everything in here is going to be the opposite. Everything in the quantity. So I'm going to have add, and in my quantity I'm going to have a -x and a positive 2. So now I have 2x minus 3 plus the new quantity, -x plus 2, which all I did was add the opposite. So that's kind of what we do in subtracting anyways. It's just this case, we have two terms that we have to make opposite. Okay, another route to doing this, yeah, you still can go and you can find your like terms just like we did in our lessons before. Or you can take your 2x minus 3 and we can take our -x plus 2 and we can write it like this and we can add. You have a 2x plus a -x is just going to give you x, because it's basically 2 plus a -1. You have a -3 plus 2 is -1, and so my answer here is -x minus 1. So I have the negative 1. I have just x. Okay, let's see if you got this. Go ahead and try these problems.